Hello, this is Jody Shirami, and this is the weekly astrology report at astropod_cast. Today is December 5th, and tomorrow is December 6th. So today is a beautiful day, but we are feeling that Jupiter-Mercury opposition that occurred yesterday. And yesterday and Wednesday was a really kind of a horrific day in the universe in terms of children getting murdered, CEOs getting murdered right on the street, getting shot down. The war is getting worse in Gaza. Now they're fighting with Syria and Lebanon. There's North Korean troops in Ukraine. So it's not a good time. It's a really horrible time in the universe. So today, Thursday, when I'm recording this on the 5th, is Mercury Gazimi, and I speak about that in one of my extra podcasts that I have. And you can look that up and see what it means exactly when Mercury goes Gazimi in the heart of the sun, which it's doing today. So Mercury is getting renewed, and that's part of its vacation here in this retrograde in Sagittarius. It's becoming renewed. It's supporting us to be open-minded because it is a fiery, mutable sign, and it is a fire sign. So fire signs are about really pushing our egos to live our life out loud. And Sagittarius people live their life out loud, especially Sagittarius rising. So right now we are being asked to meditate on Sagittarius' message, because it's ruled by Jupiter, who is right now in Gemini across from it, and they had that opposition yesterday, which was a big deal that I was talking about. And we're going to feel it all month. All these things that's happening, we're going to feel it till June of next year, all these retrogrades. And on the 6th, tomorrow, is when Mars goes retrograde at 6 degrees of Leo, which, as a Leo sun, I have been feeling this for about 2 weeks. As Mars went into Leo, I had some energy, some motivation, but I would say the past week, and especially today, there's no motivation. People are really in bad moods in the world. If you're just driving around, you can see that, the way the traffic is. And people have been in bad moods for a year, for 2 years, since COVID. And the election didn't help. The election is where everybody took it out, was on the election, was to say, hey, we're angry, we're upset about everything, this is what we're going to do. And that's what happened during the election, which was just a month ago, on November 5th, 6th. Now we're on December 5th. And the Gazimi happens whenever Mercury conjuncts the sun. And with it being reprogrammed to be a Sagittarius mindset, we are really being provided optimism, because we need it extra right now, this optimism. As the person who's ruled by Jupiter in my moon sign, part of my sun is in Sagittarius, optimism has been lacking for me. So I can't imagine how everyone else feels with optimism being lacking, because I wake up optimistic. And so when that is gone for me, my days are long and difficult, and I have to find ways to cheer myself up and really protect my vibe from people that are out here who are angry, who leave their dog out, have their dog bark for 2 hours. There's just so many things we're dealing with now, and it's just going to continue on now for 19 to 20 years, because all this tension we're feeling is because of Pluto moving into Aquarius at 0 degrees and 22 seconds is where it is right now. 0 degrees and 22 seconds. And the number 22 is significant in that it is a power number that you cannot do. 2 and 2 makes 4. It's like 11, 22, and 33 are power numbers. They're personal power numbers. So right now with Mercury going to Cassini today, it is really confusing my mind in terms of Mars retrograding tomorrow. So the next time that Mercury will station direct will be on the 15th, which isn't far from now. But that's when it's going to happen. So from now until then, again, with all Mercury retrogrades, take it easy. Go slow. Don't do anything. Try not to say things that are going to instigate people right now because Mars is tired and people don't have the energy to fight with you or to forgive you at the moment. So the more you poke around with Mercury asleep here, it's going to get bad. There's going to be a lot of local fights. There's going to be a lot of fights. And I can sense it already, just within my own self being out in the world, that there is going to be a war. There is going to be a World War III. As much as they would like to pretend it's not going to happen, the powers that be want it to happen because it makes a lot of money for people. Just even now with Trump getting elected, the market's going crazy, crypto's going crazy. So people really don't care about the future. They want money now. They want everything now. They're not thinking about the future. They're not planning out that far. So with that happening, everything every day is what it's about. Today. What do I need today? What can I do today? And with Mars asleep, you can't do anything today. Now, last week, my title was Time to Go Big. And that didn't mean use your energy to go big. It meant time to go big. Time to become something that you want to be. Time to go for your dreams, for your goals. That's what I meant by go big. I didn't mean, oh, let's get out there and start doing things and all these actions that you haven't planned out. Now, if you plan something out, like I have for about a year, then continue on, like with my gardening, with my new house, I planned it for a year. So these are things I can continue to go big on. Like I just bought a lemon tree I'm going to plant soon. So things are happening if you've planned it already. But if you haven't planned it and you want to move something now, this is not the time to start something new. It's the time to wrap things up these next couple of weeks. Now, if you're an artist and you like to write or paint or sing, whatever it is you like to do for art, this is the time to really finish that project, which I'm saying to myself as much as to you. I need to finish my projects, right? But you have 6 months to finish that project. And as a Pisces moon, we're really in hibernation mode because of all this energy that's coming at us. And so a lot of us Pisceans, as a moon, I'm emotionally closed off to people right now because it's too much for me. I feel so many things when I see the news that it's too much. I have to maintain my distance or my day can really go badly. And that's happening now with the news and the people. They're feeling it, and not everyone understands how to use their energy correctly. Even if you can have them listen to this podcast, it doesn't mean that they will do what they're supposed to do in terms of de-escalating situations, being extra nice to each other, the people you love right now. It's really important to be extra nice to them because they're extra sensitive too. So there's a lot of things that why I believe there's going to be another war in a year or two. And I really hope there's no draft because that's when the rich people send your kids to war and their kids get pardoned. Today I was listening to Molly McCord, and she has some things to say about this Mercury Cazimi that today is meeting up with the sun. And it says that this is an energy overload, and it's at 14 degrees of Sagittarius. And Mars is retrograding tomorrow. So with this energy at 14 degrees of Sagittarius, it's at the great attractor point. And Sagittarius has a lot of points like that. 17 degrees or 27 degrees is the cosmic area that it highlights for us, which I talked about last week also. Go ahead and listen to my podcast last week or the week before, because I find I'm repeating myself and I don't really want to do that. So go ahead and check those out if you haven't already. And also, Molly is saying, think long term, meditate, see what it is that you want to change, that you have control of right now. Because if you let it go, and everything's moving again in June, you won't have control of the situation, and things will be happening to you that you'll wonder where it came from if you haven't been paying attention. Because this retrograde Mercury is going back to these points that you thought about things and is helping you to remember what you were thinking. Same with Mars. It's going to go back all the way to Cancer, and it doesn't even wake up again until February 23rd. So you have plenty of time to go back and rewind and think about things. You're in no big rush. But again, if you're not thinking about things and meditating and trying to figure it out, it will come up upon you quickly, and you'll be out of control, and you'll be wondering, why didn't I think about this before? So that's my advice to you, is to really think back, and things will be coming back to you that you did this summer. Because remember, Mars went into Cancer a while ago. So it's going to go all the way back to Cancer. And that doesn't start till January. That's how long Mars is going to be retrograde. So I can't give you any more good advice besides really, really meditate, think about what you might have done this summer, what's coming back. I know this summer in August I moved to Florida, and that was still Cancer season. When I moved, it was still Cancer season, and it just finished when I moved here, and it just started Leo season in July of 22, July 22nd. So a lot of things will be coming up for review, and they are already coming up for review in our family in terms of, when we moved here, was this what we wanted? When we moved here, was this the plan? Did we have this plan instead? And how are we doing with these plans? So really, don't underestimate this time of going to your little home, your bedroom, wherever it is you go to be private, and think about these things. So now let's address the big issue that we've been speaking about, is that Mars going retrograde tomorrow, and what does it mean for us? Mars will be stationing retrograde 6 degrees and 10 minutes in Leo tomorrow on December 6th at 6 degrees at 6:32 p.m. Eastern Time. 666. So the door opens tomorrow, because again, Mars and Saturn are considered malefic planets, meaning they're not here to support you. They're here to push you to do what you're meant to do in this life. So unlike Jupiter, who comes in, says, here, I'm bringing you some good luck, gonna bring you some wealth, gonna bring you some optimism, Mars comes in and says, hey, let's go do that, let's go make money, let's go get that, let's go conquer that. And then the higher octave of Mars is Saturn, and Saturn comes in and constricts, whereas Jupiter makes everything bigger. Mars comes in and makes everything smaller. So Saturn does the same thing. And you can look at it as like Mars helping you to focus on what you're doing, and Saturn taking away distractions so you can focus on what's important. So it's not so much that it's malefic, it's just how you use the energy. If you have all this energy to focus on something and you can't use it properly because you're boo, then it doesn't really help you. It becomes malefic. It hurts you because you're doing things that are hurting yourself instead of helping yourself, right? Instead of being kind of understanding of your children and what they're doing, you can become too strict and push them into sadness by having a parent that's too strict, that doesn't understand, hey, I'm just a kid, I want to explore things, and you say, no, you can't do that, you don't know what you're doing, and you're being too strict. That's the malefic part of Saturn, is taking opportunities away from other people because you think they can't handle it. So that is how it becomes malefic. And it doesn't station back until January 7th when it goes into Cancer. So January 7th is how long this retrograde lasts. Mars lasts at 6 degrees in Leo. And then it was stationed direct on February 23rd, 25 at 7 degrees of Cancer. So we have a lot to think about, a lot of ground to cover. Not all of us can handle all this. Not all of us even knows what's happening to our chemistry in our bodies. And a lot of people are acting at the base level of humanity. Every little thing is being nitpicked. Every little thing is something's wrong. And that something that's wrong always is opposing someone else's action. So we're at the point where war is coming. All the little steps are here that we've studied in history. World War I, World War II, Vietnam War, Korean War, any war we could think of. We've even looked at how World War I started back in Europe. And why is it that when a war starts in Europe, it affects the whole world? And it's because Europe are the manifest destiny people. They thought that it was their job to go into the world and spread Christianity. And really one of the reasons that the Christians did that was because they didn't have enough food. In England, in Russia, where it's cold, there's no food being grown. So they thought, hey, if we go and spread the gospel, we'll go somewhere where there's food also. And from what I've learned, some of it was cannibalism because there was no food. And then they'd go and raid and take all the treasure, take all the food, do whatever to the women and children. And it's just like what happened again in World War II in Germany, where the Germans decided, it was someone else's fault what was going on. And they decided to get rid of the people they thought was at fault, who had more money, who worked hard for what they got. But they decided it was their fault, and they went on to kill about 6 million of them. I believe that's the number. And that's happening now, where people are starving. There's natural disasters occurring. We have aggravated that change in nature. So we are dealing with the same situation that humans dealt with 100 years ago, 200 years ago, 300 years ago, 1,000 years ago, 10,000 years ago. And we're still lost in our own selfishness. We are still trying to understand the cosmic energy that's leveling up our evolution. And some of us are fighting that, and some of us are embracing it, but none of it's at the same time. It's not collective. So there's always going to be two sides to a story. There's always going to be a balancing act. It's always going to be good, bad, late, early. There's always going to be that situation occurring, and it's how we meet in the middle that matters. And we were able to meet in the middle for a while, for maybe a decade, and then civil rights occurred, and then the war occurred, the Vietnam War, and again, all the wars occur because of being hungry, needing food, needing resources. And now the resources seem to be towards electric vehicles. But electric vehicles, according to my engineering son, is not going to solve the problem of the earth collapsing because of climate change. That's not going to happen. Even with electric energy, it is still going to pollute our earth. Because what is electric energy? Where is it coming from? Right? It's still coming from the same situation as gasoline. When it emits carbon, it's still going to do the same thing. When you have electric, it's still going to be needing resources, and it's still going to pollute the earth in some way with the oil in the car, the products you use to build the car. So there's a lot of things that we still have to solve. And we can also see people taking credit for an invention they did not do and using it to try to convince people that this is the solution when it's not the solution. All it has done is confuse the masses to believe in something that's not real. Mars moving from 6 degrees to 0 degrees is in a fixed sign of Leo, and it is opposing the fixed sign of Aquarius, where Pluto is. And Pluto's at 0 degrees. So, as Mars slips back into 0 degrees of Leo, it will be opposing Pluto in Aquarius at 0 degrees. So there's a lot that's going to happen in this very last weeks of 2024. We're not going to get off that easy because it continues on till next year. And even then, it's not going to be easy because things are happening to the point of where we are all confused, angry, killing, murdering people. And that's not going to stop. Because Mars is that aggravator of murdering people. We're supposed to be having our hearts expanded. We're supposed to be loving life because on the 7th, on Saturday, Neptune here, while it's been retrograde, we've seen a lot of delusion. We've seen a lot of people not understanding what's happening. We've seen a lot of people be fooled by words. We see a lot of people not understanding the law and how the law has kept our country safe and together for a very long time. But the extremes have gotten bad, just like they did 100 years ago, which is the very, very rich and then the very, very poor. And then there's the middle class who stands in the middle with their small businesses. But now the corporations are taking over the small businesses. Corporations are now in real estate. When you go to buy a house, like I did, one of the houses we're trying to buy was owned by a corporation. And they wouldn't budge because they don't need to. They have tons of money backing them. Why would they budge and bring down the price for a regular citizen? So, and then the person I did end up buying the house from, he also was a corporation with his wife. And they're not, they were desperate to get rid of their house because, they didn't want to go through hurricane season. So we got lucky and we got our house. But all the property in Florida is starting to be released because there's just too many fees happening because of the hurricanes. And a lot of these people don't take care of their houses or their condos, and the condos collapse. And now the condo association costs more. Now your monthly HOA fees are skyrocketing. And a lot of people are on a fixed income because they're retired down in Florida. So we have a situation where there aren't enough young people being born to help the elderly retire peacefully. And is that karmic? Yes, it's very karmic, because just even now you can see adults banning books in school, not letting kids have an opinion about what they want, and that's going backwards, right? Where children weren't allowed to speak, they were only supposed to sit there and be quiet. We're heading back there, and I remember those days, and I didn't like it. I let my kids talk whenever they want. I mean, unless they're interrupting me or being rude, obviously. But I want to hear their opinions. I don't think children should be told to be quiet. I think children are born perfect when they're born. They haven't been spoiled by society, and their opinions are great. Until they're like 5 or 6 or even 9. I think 9's the last age when they start acting more adult-like, because now they've been in school and they're being around friends and teachers, and some teachers aren't good. Not all of them, but some of them are bad. Just like anything else in the world, there's good and there's bad, right? So Mars is really going to do a number on us this year, going into next year. I wouldn't be surprised if many more murders occur, more shootings. Even yesterday, there was a shooting of a CEO of a health company, and the healthcare companies have been pretty negligent of us who buy insurance, hoping that when we get sick, we'll have some money there to help us with the doctors. But no, that's not happening. And this man who was murdered, God bless us, was making $10 million a year. It's a lot of money. So it's just once you get to that money, because I lived in a town like this, once you get there, you forget where you come from. You forget how hard it is to make money. You forget how to help your kids to be a real person and not raised by nannies. You forget things like that. And some of my rich friends can be upset hearing this from me, and that's fine, but it's the truth. And a lot of these guys and gals are becoming business people now out in the real world, and they're going to make $10 million. So you got to think about how much money do you actually need to be happy. And that's something that's going to go through scrutiny the next 20 years. People needing certain things to be the way they want them to be, that's going through scrutiny right now, because that's not how the real world works. We all need each other. The other thing about Mars going retrograde is that on January 3rd, Mars retrograde will be opposite Pluto, like I was saying, because it's going to be at the very last degrees of Leo at 0 degrees. So it is going to be meeting up with Pluto in Aquarius then. And then when that happens, it goes back into Cancer at 30 degrees of Cancer. It goes back to 17, right? And then on April 30th is when Mars is going to be back at 6 degrees of Leo. So it's going to take it a long time, and it's going to feel, as according to Rick Levine, torture. It's going to be extreme. It's going to be open energy. It's going to be confusing. But December won't be as drastic as next year, so we have a little bit of time to ease into this feeling that we're going to feel. It's not as drastic in December, but when January comes, it's going to be drastic into next year. So again, I will say, Take this time to meditate and try not to stir up trouble with yourself and with other people through your words as Mercury is asleep. Watch your actions. The things you do will come back to haunt you next year if they were done with anger. Because again, Mars rules over war, fighting, bickering, hatred. Saturn rules over the home, the family unit, the structures that hold the society together. So Saturn will also move into Aries next year. It's awake now in Pisces, and so it's giving Pisces, it's becoming a little bit more mutable being in Pisces because Neptune's more powerful than Saturn. So Neptune is really trying to help Saturn to be more open-minded, to be more flexible. Because if your Saturn isn't flexible, if your borders, if how you feel about things is so strict, you're going to have a hard time as the North Node shifts into the mutable signs of Pisces and Virgo. So you really will need to understand what's happening if you are a fixed sign like a Taurus, a Leo, and Aquarius. I think that's everybody I said, right? Oh, and Scorpio. So Taurus, Scorpio opposites, Leo, Aquarius opposites. They're all fixed signs. They're going to have a hard time if there's no mutability in them. And I know some people that have all fixed signs or cardinal and fixed signs, and that is going to be very problematic for you if you can't let go, release control. Release control. Be mutable like Pisces and Virgo. And Pisces and Virgo is about health and service and mind, emotional empathy for other people. So if you can't release your anger while Mars is retrograde, you will be having some really horrible times next year as predicted by some astrologers. I don't want that for you. And the thing with astrology is that when the thing's happening in the moment, you don't really know what's going on. You're like, ah! And then only afterwards you go, oh yeah. So that's why it's important to read your horoscope early in the morning when you wake up, so that you know what's happening for you that day. Now, a lot of horoscopes might not meet you because the sun isn't always, the sun sign you read in a horoscope doesn't always match up to what you're feeling, because really what you're feeling is your moon sign. And also what you're reading about your sun sign might not show up in the outer world because it rules your who you are, but the outer world is ruled by your ascendant. And your ascendant is what is out in the world. Your energy in the world is your ascendant. So if you need help with any of that, come on and talk to me for a consultation, for a reading. Again, check out my webpage. You'll see how much everything costs. And it costs that much because it takes a lot of time to get everything put together for you. And I really would love to talk to you and help you. So try not to torture yourself too much this week. And try not to push people too far. This is a push and pull time. If you push people so far because you yourself are going through something, then that is what happens in war, is when you throw all your anger at others when it's not their fault. Jealousy can be had here big time. Mars is Aries, and Scorpio is ruled by Mars and Pluto. And these people can get obsessed. They can get very angry. So if you have Aries or Scorpio anywhere, try to really focus on being mutable. Lean into your heart, which is Leo. The sun, as it's in Leo for this month, lean into your heart and be optimistic, with Jupiter here helping us. These are the things I can say to help you, but unless you do inner work, inner diving into yourself, into what it is you value, what it is you're dreaming of, um, no one can help you but yourself. Even if you came and talked to me, I can only tell you what I see in your cards or in your chart. That's good. And the bad things I can see, but I can't tell you to act differently. It has to be up to you. So I really appreciate you being here. Check out my podcast if you have it. I really appreciate it if you would. It would help you, it would help me, it would help the world to be a better place. Okay? Thank you. And I'll be back next week on the 13th when I will be traveling. But I will get the podcast out to you. Okay? Thank you. I'll talk to you soon. Okay? Mwah.